Hi, everyone, and welcome to World Unity Week on Sunday, the 28th, the last day of World Unity Week. And it's my privilege to introduce our speaker, Rosa Abidi, who right now is in the south of France. And she and I know each other through Bridging Continents weekly calls, which Rosa also has such a passion, being a world citizen of just peace and unity and love. And Rosa, I'll let you take it from here and tell everyone who you are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hasina. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. Um, as Hasina says, I'm part of Bridging Continent, and I really would like to put myself within that particular context because it's really significant both for myself and also for the session today. I had been exploring my inner life for quite some time, and I'd come to a place where I was really seeking resonant souls with whom to share my inner life and also how to translate that into the material external world. And I came across the symposium that Unity Earth organizes every year in February. And I was absolutely amazed to come across these wonderful communities of people all over the world who were doing really amazing work and aligning within, and as well as finding ways to continue that inner alignment outwardly. And I was absolutely delighted, thinking, how can I continue with this? And it transpired that Bridging Continent is the weekly call. I joined Bridging Continent, and there was another delight awaiting me because that really was the first time I was in a space of holding, as in, there was no agenda, there was no particular structure, and it was all about what was emerging, what was going on within, and everything was allowed, everything was welcome. And that space was really a turning point for me, because something that I felt was happening within my life and within my own little world, I realized was happening all over the world and all over the place. And I had found another family. And what I felt was really significant was this constant weaving in and out of the inner space, being with oneself, and also expressing that self within ourselves, but also being able to open our heart and open our presence to others. And expanding from that inner space and from that coherence, then seeing how we can contribute to the outer world. So if you're not familiar with either Bridging Continent, Unity Earth, One World, One World.Earth, then I encourage you to go and visit and join, because it's really a very special and unique space where you really can, or at least for myself, I felt that my inner world as well as my outer world has been in better alignment and in better coherence from it. And so from this context, that's for me, the notion of context is really important. My past life, in a way, was in the arts and in film in particular. I have been a curator of African film, and the context of production and presentation was very important. And so going back to the notion of context, the first element that I would like to bring to the group, to the circle, is the notion of service. Especially within our circles, we do talk a lot about service and contribution. And so what I would like to put to us and see what emerges is, and I said to the group here, and in fact, we are being, this is being live streamed, so wherever you are, whether within the Zoom room or anywhere in the world, so let's think together, or feel together more than the thinking, in fact, the notion of service to self, service to others, or service to source. And so I would like us to just sit with that for a few moments, and I'd like to invite whatever arises with anyone here as to where do you feel you align mostly with. and how that informs your contribution in the external material world. So if anyone would like to share or give us any idea of any experiences or where you feel you're at right now, just raise your hand. Ingrid?
The thing that immediately comes to mind for me is the recognition that that path of service is so seductive to those who have a pure pure heart to be in service, that it has been hijacked by some to like to be in service in the military and the honor and the pride of serving your country, and then being directed to do things that cause damage against the spirit of self, to wound another, and then causing shame. Like there's learning how to be in service where you are in right relationship with your own internal moral compass, to be able to have correct boundaries and know what are my boundaries, how do I be in service and follow, how do I be a good follower and maintain truth in myself and truth in right relationship with what I believe to be true, is a question of growth, a growth edge for humanity, because we do want to belong. We do want to have a sense of being in service to a greater mission. We do want to have a sense of contributing to something more. And but we also have our own blind spots, and we need each other to keep each other aware of those blind spots and to help one another to stand up in a good way and to be able to walk hand in hand. That's what I feel is emerging within myself as an individual, and many of the people that are in the organizations that I'm a part of. And specifically, that's really a huge part of what the Avatar teachings are, of like, it's not so much about what you believe, but how are you believing it? What are the internal mechanisms for decision making and for taking right action and things like that? How do we do that as individuals and as groups and as an awakening planet? It's a good question. Well, none of us have the answers, but all of the answers are there within each other.
Precisely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ingrid, for sharing that. And this last point is really kind of what resonates with me right now, the notion of doing it within, but also within the group. As you say, we all have blind spots. And it's really important to remember that whatever our path and whatever we are going through within, we are never alone. And that's another, I feel another very important element, at least for me, is a sense of when we speak of being alone and doing things in the collective, whether we are talking about being alone and in the collective in the outer world, as in with family, friends, the outer community, or whether that sense of belonging and of being present to something is within us, and whether that being first and foremost is something, and the sense of belonging is within, and within that inner space and that connection within that inner space, then a different or a slightly different flow then comes out to the external world. Mm-hmm. And then the connection then becomes slightly different.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I love that. It's an emergent expression. That's so cool. I see Juliet has her hand up. I'll back up and let her take the spot.
I am seeing people coming in the room, but
I've got him.
I see like good. Juliet, hello.
Hello, Rosa and Ingrid. Both of you, that what you're sharing is so beautiful and just feels so, lighthearted and joy-filled. I suppose for me, it's very much the joining where they all merge into one, the service to self, source, and others all become all become one, because these are all aspects of what and who we are as a oneness, and as individuals, as kind of holograms of the whole hologram, or fractals of it, where we have all of those aspects within, and realizing and remembering that the others and the source and I am all of the one. So serving it is serving others, or serving the source, or serving myself, all becomes one and the same thing, because it is all serving the higher self, which is the source, which is everyone too, as well as and others, meaning also our planetary family, Gaia's family, all of our animal sisters and brothers, relatives that are both actually living within and on our planet, and probably beyond the cosmic beings. I mean, it's all part of the one. So all of it becomes, we expand, ourself becomes expanded into the one. And yeah, it's, I suppose the thing is moving that from experience, from theory, and knowing that on with a brain, with the mind, and then experiencing that through the body, and feeling that, you're merging into, and you are one, and that you're so tuned into the joy of others, that you light up with the joy too. It's not just an academic exercise of, well, yeah, I guess I should be joyful, or they've achieved something, or they're happy. And the same, of course, with the compassion and the empathy of feeling what others are going through, but not getting attached to pain or sorrow or suffering, but just realizing that it's all a dance, and it's all who and what we are, and coming, as Ingrid said, back into right relationship. It all comes into the one. We just can feel that. And to me, that's the task right now, is to move it from the mental, the academic, to the experiencing of it. But thank you so much for bringing this up, Rosa.
Thank you, Juliet. Thank you very much for the sharing. And it's what you're saying really is important and really resonant also, because when I pose a question in terms of service to self, service to others, and service to source, I didn't define what I meant by self and what I meant by others and source. And I put that in that way also to see how each of us perceive, because we have different perceptions. And that point of perception, and that point from where we engage with and respond from, is also really important. And as you say, if ultimately it's all part of the same thing, it's all part of the one. However, how we get to the one and how we express the fact that we are part of the one then varies depending on our own parts. And so that's another, perhaps another precision, or that I'd like to ask either of you or anyone else, is what do we mean by service to self within the context of service to self, service to others, and service to source? If source ultimately is what we consider to be the I. Carla has...
Sister, this is Shonda. I'll go ahead and I'm not on the camera right now, but I'll go ahead and jump in because, reading the energy in this room and knowing a little bit about your spirit, I would say, and also seeing the evolution of humane beings right now instead of just humanity. I believe service to self is finding what Chief Elaine calls the 16 principles, the beginning of that, and that is starting within in a sacred manner. I think that, to me, that is the self, that is the the place that we need to move quickly to is to understanding where we are in our spiritual maturity, connecting that to the ability to be empath within this system and understand through all the knowledge that we've been gifted, everything from the writings of, we just lost our beloved Jean Houston, Barbara Marx Hubbard, all of the, and the main thing are indigenous communities and original instruction and the prophecy of the eighth fire, that we would understand we take no step forward until we retrieve what was wasted and left upon the wayside. It's these things that are all emerging, especially when, you know, we keep hearing the rise of the sacred feminine. We were never gone. We were just put asunder and covered up. So we've always been here. It's more about the balance now. It's not the rise of any one over another. It's the balance. And from there, I'll pass the feather. I think Kayla's got her hand up, and I think it's one of the most important things right now, Rosa, that we find that place to where we are truly gathered in spiritual maturity within ourselves before we ever open our mouth. And that's one thing I see. There's a lot of talk right now when we really need to be in that inner place. Welcome, Sister Kayla.
Thank you very much,
everyone.
Carla.
Bringing you into the bright sun here. So what comes to my mind in this idea of service to self, service to source, service to other is, of course, as you've very, very much mentioned, that the three are essentially one. That the Taoist sort of perspective, I guess, a woman, just I'll share an experience I had. It was just yesterday. I was having my dinner at a little restaurant, and I was outdoors, and a woman came to my table and asked for something. And I offered her some food that I had, and she didn't want that and walked away. Then another woman came and accepted that. But it was like this idea in the Mahayana Buddhists that the awakened one wants to be able to transform all beings. That's the highest stage, is where you realize that your destiny is, as the awakened, is the transformation of all beings. And spirit, I had that thought and that desire, and the spirit kind of smiled at me from within and said, "You don't have much choice, because that's all that we are." And it was it was a sweet realization that we are the whole, that we are just a ray of the whole, dancing, in the realm of light as well as the source itself. And that our destiny is that truth, that it is this perpetual transformation of totality, and that we are not other than totality, experiencing itself as a unit or a unity, and then that feeling that we have in our hearts all the time of when we do something for someone else, we're doing something for our own heart, because that is the truth. That's where the heart breathes. That's where the healing is. And in that communion, there's more energy, there's more networking. The network lives, and like the synapses in the brain, the electricity flows, and the electricity is the life impulse. So in that service, it is the breathing of life itself. And the greater our heart attunes with that, the more we participate in the life itself and realize ourselves as that life, and that wholeness, and that co-breathing or co-being is in fact our reality.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Carla. Thank you so much. And it really, again, rejoins the sense of the oneness and the returning back through truth to the self and the true nature of the sense, the self and the essence, which ultimately is one. And that, for me, is incredibly important as an element in terms of going back to the context, because there is, in terms of service to source, one that has come to mind, and in fact that was the one that I had in mind when I wrote it the first time, was service to self in terms of looking at extraction, self as in the smaller self, because that is also part of the landscape, part of the fabric of our experience. And as you all have said, all is one. And so that part is also part of the one. And we often have difficulties, and I, for my part, with what's been going on in the world and the transition we are all going through, has really affected me really deeply. And sometimes I felt in the past, I have felt hopelessness and sometimes anger, sometimes rage, as to what I was seeing out there as what I labeled as service to self. Ultimately realizing and understanding that even that service to self was ultimately part, because there's only one source, there's only oneness, also an unfoldment of source experiencing and expressing itself through form and through no form. So from this, what I'd like to bring to the discussion is the point of origin, and how that then informs the service, the contribution, the being, the beingness. And so if anyone has anything that rises from the notion of point of origin, I'd love to hear it. And sense it more than hear it, in fact. Ingrid.
That's that aspect of source perspective that is most tuned in, most aligned, most connected, embodied, empowered, informed, infused, filled up and overflowing with that divine energy that is accessible through the portal of this particular life experience. In avatar terminology, we call it source perspective. And getting into that source perspective and staying in that source perspective is a balancing act, like Shonda was talking about. It's an internal act. It's balancing in right relationship. It's constantly an orienteering expression in time and space, and expression and impression, what you're receiving, listening, deeply listening, and deeply authentically showing up in expression. It's an adventure. It's fun to explore, and sometimes we do really well, and sometimes we fall down and have to pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off and keep going. But that's the joy of life, of being able to really enjoy this life that we've been given, and grateful for every part of life that we get to experience together in relationship with each other, our brothers and our sisters, and our relatives of all of the plants and animal kingdoms and everything. Like, that's life is amazing, and we get to experience it together. How cool is that?
Wonderful. That's absolutely beautiful, and such a beautiful way of embodiment. Because again, and thank you so much for bringing this up, Ingrid, because this element is so important, the joy. And often we tend to, at least because of what's going on at the moment, this huge transition, which is not just personal, collective, it's really planetary, it's cosmic, really. This huge transition that is affecting us at every layer of our being and of the fabric of the personal and the collective. It's really important to remember the joy and the gratitude and the space where we come from in order to express ourselves and to live every moment within that space. And the added element to that is that frequency, that alignment, the feeling, the thinking, what we're saying, and the engagement also is what affects the field. and what aligns the field. And that brings me to another element, this is in terms of the context. I was speaking to your context, the notion of context earlier, and going back to that notion of context, what I'd like to bring now is where we are within our own trajectory, within our own arc, within our own story and narrative, and within the grander narrative, if we like, in terms of the contributions, because there are different layers and different possibilities to it. For example, I'm just going to give three, but they are not limited to those. We could be contributing to emergencies and what really needs to be done right here, right now. We can also be focused on changing the systems or looking at the systems and finding alternatives. Or we can be engaged with consciousness. And these three elements, it's not that we do one or the other exclusive of the other. On the contrary, we can be dealing with an emergency and at the same time be involved or engaged or in a being of consciousness. But in the outer world, we tend to focus on one or more, on one more than the other two. And so I would just to bring everybody to a sense of reflection in terms of where you feel you're at right now, whether you feel more attracted to or tuned to the emergencies in the material world, to the systems and exploring the systems and how these can be worked with or not, or whether it's consciousness and the evolution of consciousness. And within that, what are the other layer that I would like to add is whether you feel that this is part of the old paradigm that you feel attracted to or aligned with, engaging with the old paradigm, emergencies within that paradigm, systems, consciousness, whether you feel more aligned to the transition. What do we feel is emerging right now, moving away from, but not quite yet having a sense of the future? Or do you feel attracted to something that is not yet here and aligned with that? And so just a few moments for us to sit with that. We may do that in silence even, to just reflect on where we feel we're at right now. And then in a few moments, I'll open it to see if anybody has something to share. Thank you.
Sister Rosa, I'm going to jump back in here really quick. So,
Just yes,
I'm not sure where this is manifesting from, but the combination of quantum mechanics, everything that we've learned from everything we see coming down from the field and understanding even photons being, the source of many, many creations, and that light is both particle and wave, all the things we now understand. Astrophysics tells us that the point of origin, as you mentioned, is SAG 6. And that is what we know as the null zone in the Milky Way, the big black rift in the Milky Way. They say that is the original, what we know as singularity. That's where we come from. And what determines that we see our astrologers and our astrophysicists reminding us that every, I don't know, 26,000 years, we rotate in what is called a grand platonic cycle back to that point. And that is what determines when we move into the next stage. And right now we're looking for it all to line to Aquarius. So I think with what we know and the elders saying we truly are in between worlds, the Kogi have come down that Jujuma's working on another film fixing to be released. And they told us in February of 2013, that this 13-year cycle would bring the merging of the end into the beginning. And now the phrasing, I'm not going to attempt to, I'm having speech things in this healing cycle I'm in, but it translates to the folding of time. The Kogi are calling this, and that's my paraphrasing. So, but it fits. Back during the 2012 thing, I did a deep dive in Maya cosmology, and I've got the charts. Actually, I've got them on virtual backgrounds right now. So the thing is that I think that we just need to learn to surf the cosmic wave, and we need to be able to breathe within the moment and literally stay within the moment and stay connected to source within the moment, because we are moving so fast now. And that's something that just moved across me. I wanted to share, sister. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Shonda. Thank you very much. That was really beautiful. And thank you so much for bringing that again to the cosmic. And what you describe from the cosmological point of view is in fact, you describe it all, from the astrophysics, from the science to the spiritual and to the prophecies. And it all aligns as it does.
Hi. Anyone else have comments or questions? Julia, there you are, sister.
Thank you, and thank you, Shonda, because that brings in the other dimension, and they're all dancing, and it's amazing in terms of the kind of 3D earthling side. I thought that was a beautiful question, and that really brought up a lot. And my journey has been, it started probably about 20, 25 years ago, no, 25, 30 years ago. The first one is seeing the emergencies, and as a health worker, going, oh my goodness, these have got to be dealt with immediately. But also as a health worker, I was always interested in treating the source as well as the symptomatic. The symptoms can kill somebody, so you must deal with those. But then it's simultaneously you have to find, well, what's causing that and deal with that. The causation, the first step is the systems. The next step is consciousness. So in fact, I did a deep dive into this, and because I was so amazed by the whole process of what was happening on the planet. And so I did a master's, and I thought it was going to be health education for dealing with the crises of human survival and our planet's survival, and looking at the systems. But the title of my thesis in the end was shifting the paradigms of consciousness, because I realized, in fact, consciousness was the real source. That was in 2020, at the turn of the century, at the turn of the millennium. Anyways, and then of course, so the next step, the next part of the journey was, okay, so once you get into the consciousness, you go to what you call the next phase that you had mentioned, which is the emergence of a new paradigm, the emergence of, so how are we going to do this completely differently? We can't use the old paradigm thinking. We can't use the infrastructures or any of the concepts. Actually, the whole conceptual framework of the old paradigm is no longer suitable, appropriate for dealing with these type of problems. So then it was a deep dive into, so what's emerging, what's the new one going to look like. And then now coming into that third phase of, okay, the emerging one hasn't emerged yet. We are the ones who need to bring it into, it needs to emerge through us. So we're the ones who are the visionaries. Every person has the capacity, through our imagination, our intentions, our paying attention to it, to actually be creating that future. So That's a beautiful. That was beautifully put out, because I've gone through. I'm in those, gone through those stages, and then as you said exactly, Shonda, is so importantly, and on the planetary, on the cosmic level, while we're doing this as humans on planet Earth, as Earthlings, there's this whole cosmic dance happening, which is all part of feeding into our processes that we think is happening in our brains. But in fact, we're being influenced, and we're just kind of, all of this is channeled through us to help us at this time, to help all of this emerge. So yeah, that was profound. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Juliet. Thank you very much. Annalise, you have your hand up. Hello.
Hello, Rosa. I'm sorry that I could not step in immediately, so maybe I missed some of your profound questions, but I feel like the first two, as Juliet just also contemplated on or told us, is done. It feels like it's about consciousness, and even oneness consciousness as embodied. So this is what I'm practicing. I came across the I Ching that there was a hexagram. It's called, let me see, I have it here. It's a small taming power. The big will be prepared by the small. I like that. So how can I be embodied conscious oneness in real life? So without a program, being visible without a program, without a mission, without a compass, but just as I step, my path is maybe behind me, and I'm for the new, I'm for preparing the new. So it's more like, what form am I giving my life? Or is it opening by living through me, so that wholeness can be visible for others, and not that I have to bring truth or bring anything or teach? No, it's by being in a way an example, maybe not even, I don't know, but so that people can take something on from that if they like, and not because I bring that. So yeah, and it's being available for the light. This is what my practice is. It's quite small, maybe, sometimes too small. I feel like, ooh, I should do big things, showing up, but this is what it is: presence. And yeah, thank you, and nurture myself and others. That's probably what this is about, because I always felt that I had to bring something or to do something or stand up or show up, and I only notice, well, if I am in real good contact with what I'm here for and I'm energized by that, I can really also flow, and people can hear me, and that's really making the difference. So yeah, thank you for this beautiful inquiry. I love it.
Thank you very much, Annalise. Thank you very much for sharing this, and for bringing it back to the presence and the frequency and the importance of the presencing with oneself, and how that in and of itself is the change. So thank you very much for that. Anya, hello.
Hello, my dear, and yeah, thank you for the questions, which I missed because I came in late. But I can share something which might actually fit to that being in presence. I had the opportunity to attend this morning a church service, which is quite which is happening not quite often, because in this area where I'm living, there are a lot of Christian churches, and too much churches for less participants of the church service. So the the uh, the area here decided to close churches, and it is interesting to observe these services for the last sermon. And I attended this, and I did not have expectation how it's working and how it's made, and which methods and types of songs and lyrics and whatever is there. So I just attended and had been present. And the priest was talking about, or had been talking about, that it's not about the stones. So yes, for some reason it needs places to be and to come together and to praise and certain methods. But actually it's about the people that attend and come and go and be present together. So it was actually a special event to attend, and it's a really small church here in my hometown. And it had not been the bishop or somebody else, so it had been the normal priest to be given this task, and the normal people just to attend and to praise the past, to see who's present and where we are at when we look at the future and our visions, and to be spiritual beings. So I just share that for a little moment. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Anya. And in fact, this sharing and what Annalise was speaking to just before you, Anya, really brings us to the questions that I had posed when I first was thinking. In fact, I wasn't thinking. This event, this gathering, this sharing literally rose, and I had the ideas come to me all one after the other, and the questions came to me, and I'm going to say them, ask you now, which is, what does the new earth mean to each and every one of us when we feel or think or imagine the new earth? What does it feel and look like? And what I'd like us to do is, I have these questions, and I have another one. I'd like us to feel and sense those, and then we will go in a meditation together, and then we'll come back and see how we feel and how we sense after the exploration in the imaginal realm. And so what does the new earth, again, Juliet and all of us have been speaking to that, in fact, the change and how we looked at the different elements, the origin point, the contribution, the service, where we're at, how we merge, how it is all part of the same one fabric. And ultimately, from whichever point we look at it, everything is part of the one thing. It's just we are coming to it and going back to it from different places. But it's all being woven in one fabric. And so what does it feel and look like, this that has not yet appeared? And it can be a space where you feel on the inside. It can be something that you see as in an image on in terms of the material world. It can be how you feel or see yourself in the future, how you see your collective, your community, or the world, the planet. So whatever rises in terms of, what does this new earth, this new age, what does it look like and feel like for us? And perhaps I can, yes, Ingrid?
Something that is a exploration that is alive and flowing through the Avatar Network and all the people that we are in service to. Actually, Enlightened Planetary Civilization, EPC, is a service mark of the Avatar Network, of saying, what do you see as an enlightened planetary civilization? What do you want to see emerge? What's your place in your piece, in your part? And how do we help and empower one another to bring that into fruition? It's the ultimate DIY project. You know, you have to do the inner work here, but the fun part is we can do it together. But those questions, like following the questions, following the right why, following the path that brings the joy and the liveliness and the excitement of being here now together with you and doing this play as we do and be and do and sing doobie doobie doo and sing our life song as one family, one heart.
Thank you so much. And perhaps I can also I share what it feels for me. When I sense and feel the new earth, or what's emerging for me, is no structures at all. A sense and a feeling of knowing each other from the inside out, connecting to one another from the inside out. And by feeling and being connected to each other from the inside, and getting a sense of what is needed, not just for oneself, but for the collective, and for the greatest good of the collective, and being in alignment with that, then everything else shifts on the outside. And all I see and all I feel is that what we do is the being in alignment, is the evolution, is the joy, is the discovery, is the being childlike again, by remembering who we are back in a space of infinite joy. And that in itself allows us to explore and continue our own evolution. And all the drudgery is gone. The notion of work, the limitations, they are not present. That is not what I feel when I connect to that space. All I feel is that is a frequency where love really, that the word hasn't come up so far, I don't think, but let's bring it to the table, where really love flows, and love being everything, joy flows. And the expression of source through every one of us is in its highest expression. And of course, we are all going through our own path, and therefore we are not going to all be in the same place at the same time. And that is part of it. That is part of the holding and the being. So that is what I sense and feel for what I refer to as the new earth. Kurt, you've been waiting patiently. Hello.
Yes, I so love exactly what you're talking about, as you can see from the symbol behind me. We have our heart open because it cannot be closed. It's a never-ending story. We get to shine, and I put into the chat about letting the children, the youth of all ages, because BD like little children, like you mentioned, to be able to design the society that we know is available to us. So there's no bullying, there's the organic things growing, and we're supporting life and dancing and singing more and creating the beauty that is so inside us, outside us, because there's no difference between the inside and the outside. Uh, and that smile so proves it. And I'm wondering where you're from in South Africa, because you seem to have that accent that my wife has.
Oh, okay. I am actually North African. I'm from Algeria.
Oh, are you really? Oh my goodness. The accent, I don't know how you got that accent. Any of that, or I'm a little losing it. But they've
It's
been
always
playing some pretty good football lately. I said they've been playing a little bit of good football in the World Cup. I love sports too, besides everything in life in general.
I'm not following the World Cup, but thank you so much for sharing about the peace and the joy and the youth that is so important. And again, being childlike and the youth and the importance of the voice of the younger generation.
Well, when they're challenged to be able to create a greater reality, they get to be able to do the creation. And I put into the chat a link to a whole bunch of resources that people can use. And I'm totally available for anybody's asking to share any of this, because there's many organizations that are finally coagulating, and it's become the peace matrix, the network of networks. And World Unity Week with Ben and John Raymer's work uniting, and everybody else's is uniting together now, because Satya Yuga is at hand. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good. One thing that I haven't been doing is checking the chat for any contributions. So I wonder whether Ingrid or whoever is in the room could maybe read out if anybody has put anything there that in addition to what has already been shared. I don't want to know. Okay.
No, mostly it's just responses to the questions that you were asking in the moment of the question. And then Kurt added some additional information about the youth resources that he has. And I will go ahead and copy that and put it into the live stream link as well. Thank you for sharing that, Kurt.
Thank you very much. And so what I would like us to all do now is, in fact, staying with the childlike space. We are going to go in the imaginal realm. We are going to do a little meditation together. And so make yourselves comfortable. I'll give us maybe a minute if you'd like to grab a glass of water or go to the restroom or something, because we are going to be in the space for a little while. And just bringing ourselves back to the space and to the body. You can keep your camera on if you like, you can or not, it's however you feel, whatever rises for you is okay. Hello, Louisa. Nice to see you, nice to see you all. And I would like to actually really say thank you to everybody in the space, not just in the Zoom room, but wherever you are, and whether you are here with us this moment, or if you are watching or listening to the recording in the future, because I can really feel the energy in this space, and it's really beautiful. And so I would like to thank everyone for the creation of this beautiful field that we are all sharing right now, and we will continue sharing in the future. So I'd like for us all to start putting our hands on the heart space and taking a few deep breaths. Taking a deep breath in and breathing in light, and breathing out all densities. Breathing in appreciation for all that has already been given. And breathing out any attachment to what the shift in the earth should look like. You can keep your eyes open, you can close them if it feels natural, whatever feels good to you. And another deep breath in, breathing in gratitude for all that has already been given. And breathing out attachment to what your highest timeline should look like. You may rest your hands wherever you feel comfortable and breathe normally. If you haven't closed your eyes yet, this may be a good moment to do so. Go inwardly, taking a few breaths here, breathing at your own rhythm. Letting your chest rise and fall. Letting your abdomen rise and fall. And now gently put your attention to a point on the far horizon, whatever that may look like for you. The top of a mountain, the ocean, land. Gently put your attention to a point on the far horizon. And now draw your attention back. Draw your consciousness back to the center of the head. And in this space, recall all of your energy back. You may say it aloud, you may say it mentally. I draw all my energy back in wholeness. And visualize or imagine, feel or sense that all of your energy, wherever it has been scattered outside of you, is returning from all 360 degrees from all around you. All your energy back into wholeness. And now empty the head inner space. The head inner space is empty, clear, completely transparent. The head inner space is fine, subtle, pure energy. Empty the neck inner space, completely transparent, even, fine, subtle and pure energy. Empty the shoulders and shoulder sockets inner space, empty, completely transparent, subtle, pure energy. Empty the arms inner space, all the way to the fingers. Empty, clear, completely transparent, subtle, pure energy. And now empty the chest inner space. The chest inner space is empty and clear, pure energy. Empty the abdomen inner space, clear, completely transparent, even, fine, subtle and pure. Empty the spine inner space, empty and clear, transparent, pure energy. Now empty the whole of the back inner space, upper back, middle back, lower back, empty, pure energy. Empty the pelvis inner space, empty and clear, completely transparent, subtle and pure. Now the thighs and the knees inner space, empty and clear, completely transparent, subtle and pure energy. The shin, calves and the ankles, empty, completely clear and transparent, subtle and pure energy. the feet and the toes, empty, completely transparent, pure energy. The whole of the chi body inner space, the energetic inner space, is empty, completely clear and transparent, subtle, pure energy. And for the time of this session together, transfer all authority from the head space into the heart space. The heart knows. You may already be practicing this, but for now, for our time together, let's transfer all authority from the head space to the heart space. And may only what serves truth, what serves life, what serves harmony, what serves evolution enter this space. Beneath all of the inherited layers, all the constructed layers, beneath all of the conditioning, beneath all of the wounding, the heart remembers, the heart knows. It remembers and it knows its point of origin. And as you soften into the heart space, it expands. And continues expanding. It remembers. So let's go back to the point of origin, to the origin seed of our being, of our essence. We are source, prime creator, the universe, God, it has many names, but we are source, expressing and experiencing itself through form. We are a fractal of source in human form, having a human life. In this space, in the heart space, we inhabit our inner sovereignty, our inner authority. And we not only remember, we know, not from the intellect, but is from this much, much deeper space, the space of essence. And each of us has its own seat of inner sovereignty and inner authority. So take your place on your own inner seat of wholeness, of integrity. Remain here for a few moments together, remembering, integrating our wholeness. From this space of being, of wholeness, our thoughts, our emotions, our words, and our actions are aligned every choice, every thought, every emotion, every word, and every action carries its frequency. And it is this alignment that determines which of the infinite corridors of futures comes into being. And when we engage with ourselves, with others, with the field, from this space, from this inner seed, as a fractal source, the space of inner alignment, the field, and therefore the material world, rearranges itself to match this new frequency. The more we remain aligned, the more the frequency stabilizes. The more the frequency stabilizes, the more the field rearrangement remains stable. And so here, there is no thing to do. The being in alignment within is what shifts the corridors of possibilities and brings your highest timeline into manifestation. And as more of our individual timelines are brought into manifestation, sense or feel, see how the collective field rearranges itself to match this new frequency. Let's remain here for a few moments. It's rearranging itself. The earth is not waiting for us to get there. We are the earth. Through our being, through our remembering of our true nature, through connecting within an alignment. As we align within, we begin to sense from this inner space all our brothers and sisters, all of our relatives, in all realms, in all worlds. And as we attune to them, we know what is for the greatest good of the whole here. That becomes part of our alignment. And as it becomes part of our alignment, it becomes part of our highest timeline. And this, in turn, becomes a fabric of the collective field and of the new earth. Together. In truth, Mhm. A few moments, it will be time to come back to our body. Let's remain here for a few moments. To return to our physical body, knowing that you can return anytime you want in this space through a few breaths, through returning to your point of origin, remembering your point of origin. So taking a few deep breaths in, coming back into the body, coming back into the physical space that we inhabit, and to the physical space we're currently occupying wherever we are in the world. You may want to move your head from side to side, gently shake your upper body, move your fingers and your toes, bringing yourself gently back into the body and into the space. Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to invite anyone to share whatever arises, whatever is alive right now in you, whatever images or whatever has come during this exploration is welcome. And silence is also welcome for a few more moments if this is what emerges in the room right now.
Rosa, for those who may still have been coming into their body, would you repeat the question, please?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Ingrid. From this exploration deep within, whatever rises for you in terms of whether you have seen, experienced anything during the exploration or however you feel right now. And it may also be that you have felt something different or you've experienced something different in terms of what the new earth feels like or looks like before the exploration and after. These are pointers. Whatever has risen is welcome. Or in fact, indeed, if there are any comments, anything to share, again, this space is an emerging space where everything is welcome. Thank you, Annalise. Annalise says in the chat, it feels like honey.
Yeah, that's actually the feeling that I was also feeling that that when it moves from that expanded space and it comes into a tangible space, when it feels actionable, tangible, graspable, realized in a way that That's like the path of opportunity of what being led toward. That's where I feel that tip over point between the imaginal realm and the now moment of possibility in evolution towards probability, in evolution towards potentiality of realness and realization by self and others.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. I couldn't have put it better myself, because this is what I felt. Thank you so much. And I was going in and out of it myself, but that is really exactly what I feel in terms of the potentiality and the manifestation, and the also there is for me was a sense of permeability.
Malleability, yeah, that's quite a word.
Well, and this is what it felt like for me, and perhaps it rejoins what Annalise was saying in terms of honey, this osmosis and symbiosis. This is what I felt and I was sensing throughout. If there is anything that may arise for you in terms of visions of the future from that space, as in images, because again, the imaginal being so important and everything coming from that imaginal space before it comes into being, that also would be most welcome. Sometimes we have images or colors or whatever visual or indeed auditory you may have received. But again, the sharing is optional, is more how aligned it feels for you right now.
I'm showing you just that I hold a bee in my hands. So this honey being, it's a blue bee, and I have a sound in my ear which I'm chanting frequently, and I chanted in the church this morning, and I saw myself lying as a bee, as you talked about horizon, just laying in a flower and be nourished of the pollen and everything. So that was quite my vision and my view. And as the bee is creating a sound, I'm just sharing that for a little moment, and maybe you can refer to that later. So it's like imagining the bee flying from here to there, but just being present in the moment and just flying around.
Anya, thank you so much. It was beautiful. I became a bee there. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Can you open your hand slightly more so that we can see the bee better? Ah, you've gone now. Beautiful. That's it. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Being a bee. Does anyone else want to share or feel moved to or called to share? Tom. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much. I had to stay a bit in the third dimension during that beautiful journey. As I'm buzzing around the back roads of South Carolina here. And interesting that Ingrid used the word tangibility, because the last thing I expected coming back was some sort of marching order, because it felt beautifully multidimensional and access to things that are not here. But I almost immediately, when I came back into my body, was thinking of several people in my life who are going through communication challenges with their practitioners. And almost a wish, without words, almost a wish that the practitioners could have a listening relationship. And that there be almost an intuitive, your words about, your language about having that somatic under the osmosis, that be the freedom inside with which people have these conversations in the coming days. And it felt very tangible, felt very like, okay, well, I got to get to work here because somebody's got to carry the message. And I don't know what to do. That's it.
Thank you very much, Tom, for sharing that. It's very interesting for me hearing that, and thank you so much for sharing it, because however it comes to anyone is the right expression for anyone. And so I'm not going to make a comment directly on what you've experienced, but what I find really interesting is this interplay, which I've experienced myself so much of my life, being inside and feeling in that space, and then coming out and feeling, okay, as you say, what's the tangible? What do I need to do? Because the being feels so unnatural to me. And the being feels like it's no thing. It's nothing. Well, I can't be just being, and that is enough for things to change. I have to be doing. And then I have something tangible, and then I can show this thing for myself, as in, this is what I've done. And this is really the key point, and thank you so much for bringing it up. This is the reason for this inquiry. The being versus the doing. What comes first? And how do we feel about one and the other at any point, at which point? And for me, at least, I have been stuck in the doing for most of my life. And the being was completely alien to me. And I rejected it because for me, it was nothing. The being was nothing. And I didn't know how to just be. And even with my friends, let's just sit down. What do you mean, let's just sit down? Well, Rosa, what have you been doing today? Me? Nothing. Really? And then when I go in my mind as to what I've been doing, it's this list as long as my arm. So what do we mean also about the doing? And now I've shifted to a place where the being is the doing. And in that being, then the external doing comes into play by itself, without the forcing, without the thinking from the thinking mind. And that's also for me what has made things more, that is for me that the tangible for me is coming from the inside. The forcing is coming from the outside. And the pressure is coming from the outside of having to show something for ourselves, something tangible in the world. And yet the being on the inside, the alignment on the inside, that brings into being whatever needs to come into being. And this is exactly that space that I actually wish to bring space for. So thank you very much for sharing that, because that is the crux of it. That is exactly the crux of it. And so, in fact, this is, we have a few minutes before the end of the session, and you're completely right. It is about that. And in fact, much of what is being talked about and what is being done, whether with bridging continents, whether with World Unity Week and all these are very much about this question. And a lot of us feel perhaps torn between the being and the doing. That is my sense. Is anyone else? Thank you again, Tom. Anyone else, if you'd like to respond to that, or anyone else wishing to speak to that? It seems to me that it's a question of balance for ourselves. And this is where the balance within the fabric of the field and the collective contribution comes into play. And what I mean by this is that not all of us have to be focused or have a sense to be drawn on the outside of doing. There are the emergencies, and these require doing. There are the systems, yes, and we are not evolving in a vacuum, so these have to be put in place and maintained. There is also the consciousness, and everyone's contribution is essential, whatever that contribution looks like. And that is, for me, what is the most important, is that the being and the doing are recognized, and it's also positioning ourselves as being aware of where we're at in our own arc and within the grander arc and trajectories. Annelise?
Yes, there we are. Yes, just what came up about what you just asked. It's a resonance. It's a frequency. So when I feel this evolutionary impulse going through me, that's where I start doing from being. And I relate totally to what you once said, just said, but also said before. There's so much doing in being. We hold so many spaces. We process so much, often conscious, maybe also unconscious sometimes. But I feel it's answering the call when the evolutionary impulse comes through me, and this yes, which is coming through me from above, through really embodied grounding into earth. Then also I walk, and everything falls into place. But I often have to wait for that, and I'm not exhausted after that, but it just stops after that, and then I'm, do I have to stop now? It's all's happening. So yeah, evolutionary impulse. Thank you.
And in fact,
Thank you, beloved family. Sister Rosa, we are at shift change. We have the stream check coming up, so I'm going to bring our sister Hasina back in to move that forward.
For everyone, thank you to everyone who's been here. Thank you for the team World Unity Week, and thank you for all the participation, and thank you for all of those listening wherever you are.
Well, thank you,
Rosa, really quick, sister, just in case you leave the room, sister, I'm really interested in co-creating
stream.